The U.S. Defense Department has denied that it's working toward a specific goal in reducing the numbers of forces operating in Africa. The statement follows a report in the New York Times suggesting special operations forces could be cut in half in Africa over the next 3 years. From Washington, Daniel Ryntjes reports.
The New York Times article quotes unnamed sources who say a review of U.S. operations in Africa is working towards a sharp cut in the number of special operations forces in Africa, currently numbering around 1,200. And according to this article, the plan is to reduce them by 25% over 18 months and 50% in 36 months. But I've spoken with the Office of the U.S. Defense Secretary James Mattis. They describe this article as speculative and that there's no direction in terms of changes to the size of the forces in Africa. Now, Pentagon spokeswoman Major Cheryl Klinkle confirmed that a periodic review is taking place to assess the best options, she says, that address the constantly evolving threat to US national interests, which aims to sustain our global military advantage and optimizes US government resources. Now, the US military is in the process of improving its operational procedures in Africa, following a scathing review of an incident which found multiple failures in the handling of an ambush incident in Niger, in which 4 Green Beret commandos were killed by ISIL militants last year. They're already implementing stricter standards for the approval of any on-the-ground missions to accompany local forces in any of these countries, and if they are sent out, then an armed drone or other protective aircraft support must always accompany them. Daniel Ryntjes, CGTN, Washington.
Well, to get more insight on the situation, we are joined by Samson Natale, a security analyst in Uganda. Thank you very much for joining us. How effective have the US Special Forces been in the Horn of Africa region?
Well, technically they've really helped out in what traditionally is called as a military wrecking. That's using technology like the drones that can fly over a good swath of land to detect where the enemies are and what they are doing. And then they pass over that information to the battling grounds. Now, the US troops have not been active in the actual battle, but they help in technical surveillance. Therefore, their numbers in the actual battle have always been insignificant because they pass over to the battle troops like the African Union troops.
Okay, so going back to this report, Washington is denying reports of cutting down troop numbers, but what impact would this have, especially in Somalia, where joint forces are battling al-Shabaab militants? I get the impression that you don't think the troop numbers are the significant factor here.
Yeah, I really doubt whether at this time, considering the ground covered in pacifying Somalia and maybe elsewhere like say Central African Republic, it does not really make sense for US to cut down any effort, be it technical or even in numbers. Because for them, for as long as the region is pacified and there's a normal governance, there's no more ground for any kind of terrorism breeding there, it makes sense a lot for them. So to me, I see they should be considering more of technical assistance and also in hardware, the required hardware. You should remember that African Union has always asked for more capacity, especially in the air capacity to fight the al-Shabaab, because that's one area where African Union is lacking. So it wouldn't make sense for them even to think about cutting down anything.
Okay, well, in addition to what you say they need, more technical assistance and hardware, would you, however, say that the military strategy being implemented in Somalia is working, or is it time to take stock and review it?
Well, certainly it requires a periodical review to see where it works and why hasn't it worked and what is lacking. Now, as of now, actually, what has been being asked by the authorities that bring together the African Union troops and all the supporting agencies, including EU and US, has been, they've always been asking for more support in air, nowhere else, largely in air, and also the financial support to boost up the morale of the fighting troops. Therefore, considering that that has always been a perennial need, each time they review, that will always be top of agenda. Now, the question will be, where do we get the resources to fill up that gap?
Okay, thank you very much for your analysis. That was Samson Natalide, a security analyst in Uganda.